I'm Vibs, welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of me working on the fabulous housecoat, my lounging around the house robe. Initially I'd only planned on making 2 videos, but I ended up with a bunch of footage, so bonus third video. Initially I got to work hand stitching the lining of the sleeves at the shoulder to the rest of the lining to finish off this seam nicely. I had a long leisurely hand stitching session on the sofa, catching up on a bunch of YouTube videos. I added some pleats to get the fabric to line up nicely instead of doing gathers as I did on the fashion fabric. With everything out, I decided to run the gathering thread for the sleeve cuffs by hand as well. It didn't take long and it made some nice even gathers. Back at the machine, pinning the cuffs to the now gathered sleeves, taking my time to ensure even gathers around the cuff. Is closing the inner seam. I did this by hand as well, stitching lining layer to the seam allowance for a clean finish. Later, I added snaps for closures. As I've mentioned before, I really do like adding these small hand-stitched touches in a project. I find it easier and neater and just like taking my time with these things. We're back to working on the robe today. I had prepared 2 patch pockets that I was gonna add to the side fronts, but testing it out, it didn't look very good because I chose the circle skirt. It kind of interrupts the flow of the circle skirt in a way I hadn't anticipated. So we're pivoting and we're making welt pockets instead. I've never tried to do this. I just made this quick mock-up of one. I haven't ironed it or anything, but I think I get like the basic idea of it and it looks cute. So let's just go ahead and do it. Added. It looks pretty decent for a first shot. I'm not gonna try and replicate it on the other side, so this is just gonna be one pocket. I'll leave the tutorial link down below that I followed, roughly-ish. We're also in like a tiny bit of a time crunch right now, or I am, trying to get this finished before we head off on holiday. I can definitely bring it and do like the last bit of hand sewing, but I really want to get like the final stuff done now. And time's a ticking. So the only major thing I have left to do is to start hemming all of that skirt. Yay! So I tried it on yesterday evening, I think, and kind of played around with the length. I know I want it short enough that I can walk up the stairs without any issue, so I don't want to have to pull it further up to be able to walk up the stairs. That does mean it's a bit too long, unfortunately, but I really do like the length, and it's not a whole lot, and it's mostly in the front. So even though the high-low look is kind of over, I think I'm actually going to do a somewhat version of that anyway. So keep the length as it is in the back and then just even it out, and then cut it up shorter in the front. I think the height difference is going to be like 5 centimeters, so it's not going to be like the full 2010s high-low skirts, but it'll just keep the length where I can keep it and then make it functional for me as well. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to try and cut off the excess fabric and then figure out how I'm going to hem this. You probably won't see any of this, so I guess I'll meet you when it's done. So the hem on this thing was a beast to do. I had a plan, it completely derailed, and I ended up doing something very differently. I thought I could line up the fashion fabric and the lining fabric and then just fold them under once and hand stitch them together. But matching the length turned out to be really, really difficult. Also finding the actual length that I wanted the hem to end at. Circle skirts aren't the easiest, and circle skirts on yourself when you don't have a dress form is just... I did not end up finishing it before the holiday as I had originally hoped, unfortunately, because of all of the difficulties to try to even out the hem. So in the end, my mother came a few weeks later and helped me out. I was wearing it and she was pinning, and we were like discussing how it would look best. And then I just went for it and cut it, and that was the length it was gonna be. Done. It's not perfect by any means, but it's good enough. And honestly, nobody other than me is going to notice the slight unevenness that's still there in some places. I could really use a dress form. That is definitely on the wish list for next year. Stay tuned for that, hopefully. So what I ended up doing for the hem was I double folded both layers separately and just finished them as I would a regular circle skirt. I find it easiest to do the double fold with a stitch on each fold. So you fold over once, stitch down, and then fold again, stitch that down. Very tedious. It took a very, very long time, but I think the finished result is okay. So that does mean that the two layers are loose and independent of each other, but I don't think it shows at all. And you know what? It worked. The thing was finished, finally. I needed that. I really needed that. But let me know in the comments, how would you have tackled hemming this? Another thing I did at the very end, which was now like a month and a half ago, was I opened up the seam here across the middle front at the waist, and I ended up pinching out a bit of excess fabric. I had noticed that the top didn't lay quite as flat over my bosom as I would like, and I had a really hard time figuring out how I could pinch out that excess, and then I realized I could just like scoot it and then even out the waistline again, and that actually worked really well, though you will see in the reveal shots that my size has changed ever so slightly since I did that alteration. So at the moment it doesn't fit perfectly. I'm not going to alter it again because that would be silly. I'm going to change again in a few months, but it helped. It looked really good when I did it. I unfortunately have no pictures of this. You're just gonna have to trust me that it fits me pretty well. I'm decently happy with it. For the cuffs, to finish them off, I added just simple snaps. I was going back and forth on doing buttons and everything else, and in the end, I just needed this project to be finished, so snaps it was, and they work, they're comfortable. What more can you ask for in a house robe? chaotic at the moment. We're actually moving house in under a month. So the next few videos that are coming out are primarily going to be older videos or footage that I shot a while ago and then I'm editing up now to go live. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed following along on this not summery adventure. I think that's all for now, so hi!